I'm gaining knowledge that way alone. But I know it's just a matter of time. I think the bread and butter of it all is just the contracting part. So I'm gonna take it step by step, grow respectively, like you say.
The biggest thing is learning the documentation and what they're asking for and how they describe it, because the government makes up words that they use to describe things.
Right. No.
And different agencies call it different things, and
nobody's on the same page. Sheet of music,
Yeah. But that's the beauty of music, though. You can modify it, you can change it, make it your own.
Yeah.
We got a few more people joining. Joseph, Matthew, can you guys hear us? Doesn't look like they're on the audio yet.
Oh, okay. So you ready to head out to Arizona?
Sure. Another trip.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed doing anything, anytime, because at least it's something different.
Right.
Especially if you're getting paid.
I was stationed in the West Coast for a long time, so I kind of actually miss it. I was in Arizona, Camp Pendleton, and now I'm out of the military, so I'm in the Northeast, New York right now. But I miss the West Coast. But all the contracting jobs and most of the contracts are in like the Virginia area, Virginia D.C. area, so that's what I'm kind of there for.
Nice. We got Joseph and Matthew joined us. Can you guys hear? Mike, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
We can go ahead and get started. Looks like they're out. Mohan, you got a question, or just wanted to listen today?
Well, I just got a quick question. I don't have a solicitation. I don't know if anybody else has it. You can go with them for right now. Well, I just have a quick question. As far as the cage code, I just got the cage code. Does it, when I just do a search on SAMS by looking at the cage code, nothing comes up. When I go to using the DUNS number, something does come up. Does that take a couple of days to be in the system or something, or how does that work?
Yeah, when it comes to the DUNS number and the cage codes and stuff like that, when it's brand new, sometimes it'll take a couple of days to show up. I can pull you up and see.
Yeah, please. I can give it to you.
Yeah, and guys, always remember, DUNS number and cage code are public information. You don't have to worry about giving those out.
That's the EIN, which is private, right?
Yeah, EIN, Social Security number. You don't want to give out like your TIN or your MPIN unless it's a government purchasing agent or a government agency asking for it. Those are the only people that you should give it to.
Okay. Is a TIN and EIN pretty much the same thing?
Technically, yeah. It's just different agencies, different government calls it different things. It's the same thing as your Social Security number. If you're a DBA, your Social Security number is the same thing as your EIN. Okay. And it was not too long ago that your Social Security number was public information on the state website where you're registered as a DBA. They would actually show your Social Security number. It was public information. So until recently, they stopped doing that. But technically, it's the same thing. So you can search it by your cage or your DUNS, 5YMD1. That's mine. Okay, anyone can search it. This is public information unless the person who's in charge of your SAM. So if that's us, you're going to be publicly viewable. Some people opt out of the public search in SAM because they think that'll stop people from calling them and emailing them and selling them stuff. What they don't realize is even if they opt out of the public search in SAM, they still show up in Binks, which is now called Cage. And it says it's not private and people will back off. It's a government site. You can go to advance and proceed. So regardless if they opt out of the public search in SAM, they will show up in this website. So I can pull you up by what's your cage?
7 Tango Sierra 36. Yep, nothing comes up, but I can give you a DUNS number. It'll come up.
It's a long story. That's weird. It could be. That could just be Sam's glitching, because they're migrating these systems into all the systems are being migrated into SAM. Eventually, even FDO will be in SAM. Let's go by DUNS number.
080 557 261.
Yes. Yeah, it's still showing as submitted, but that's all right. It'll take the government a day or two to flip the switch, basically.
Okay, on there it says registration status inactive.
Right.
Should I be worried?
Nope. Once it once they pinned it, once they flip that switch, it'll become active.
Okay, I'll just stand by then.
The main thing is this. This is a good thing too. On your main page, you gonna back up? See, it won't let me back up. All right, on this page right here, see where it says delinquent federal debt?
Right.
No, that's awesome. That's good. All right.
Oh.
See that has active exclusions? No, that's good. So
Does that mean anybody can call me?
Yeah, and all that means is it's submitted. It's going to go through because you have nothing to stop it. Some people get delinquent. This is called the federal debt flag. Some people get this on their SAM and they don't even owe any money. It could be a glitch or a mistake. I've seen it. I've seen multi-billion-dollar companies have these on their accounting firms getting a federal debt flag all of a sudden, like they miss a payment.
Okay.
So this is good though. All right, just another day or two, it'll show up.
Okay, I'll stand by. No worries.
You got it. Anybody got a bid or proposal solicitation to work on today or a question? I don't see that anybody has audio. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Yeah, I can hear you, John. I'm just listening.
Okay. All right, we can wait and see if somebody comes on with a bid or something or a question to work on, but I can show you guys some other stuff.
Yes, sure. Hey, John, you guys weren't kidding when you said, hey, when your name comes up on SAM, they'll look you up. Automatically, I get all kinds of text messages and emails from people calling me. It's just kind of like, wow, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Trying to sell me something.
That's when you know, well, that's when you know you're active in SAM, because that's where these guys get your phone numbers and your emails from. Or if they don't look in SAM because you opt out of the public search, they'll still go to Binks and find you in Binks.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is the main, anyone who goes to SAM and pulls numbers and emails from there to, we call them ambulance chasers. They get your information from there, and that's how they find you and start trying to sell you stuff. But anyone can go to Binks and pull you up regardless. This is also, if you want to do subcontract work for a company, don't waste your time going to SAM and searching them. Come search them in Binks, which is now called Cage. I keep calling it Binks. It's the DLA's search engine. FPDS. You guys want to find... You want to find who your competitors' purchasing agents are, who your competitors sell to. Go in here like you're in Texas and you do welding. And you know Concept Laser, this guy's across the street. You want to know who he's selling to. You want to find out who his purchasing agent is and how you can get in touch with them, right? Go to the view link right here. And right up here where it says prepared user or last modified user, you can copy that. This is the coolest thing in the world. Simplest too. Just put it in Google. There's Paul's phone number. There's his full email address. It's the same as his username. Sometimes they don't use their real email address here in FPDS. They'll use a fake email address, so you can't just email them directly. But again, you can always find something if you know where to look. Now, if you want to do work for these guys, say you want to sell to this company, to Concept Laser, they did $22 million. They got a little extra money they can give us. Just take their DUNS number. You can get it on the main page. Or let's say these guys, you want to talk with them, take their DUNS number and go back to Cage website. Wait for it to load. Come on now. Sometimes it's better off to go do something else while you're waiting for these government websites to load. Any of you guys are not using, I use these, whenever I do emails, I don't type real fast, so I use signatures to send anything I do more than once. So if I got something I have to send, just even this one little sentence, if I have to send it more than once, I'll put it in a signature.
Okay, how do you, is that possible to set it up on Google or just Outlook?
I have no idea. I'm not that savvy, really. I know enough to get by when it comes to computers. I mean, I used to sell computers, but once you stop selling something or working on something, Now, I'm good to know what I do know. The signatures are easy because you just go to the signature button, go to the bottom, create new, name it.
Because I try to do that, I think I read your spam to make sure the contracting officer gets your mail. So I try to go up to follow-up actions to make sure they read your email and got a deliverable. I try to do that online with the Google Mail. I just wasn't able to find that. That's why.
Not sure. I'm sure Google Mail has a delivery notification and a read notification. I mean, those don't always work either. Even when I send them, they don't always work because some of the federal agencies have software set up that they don't automatically respond, to anything. But I've still had purchasing officers receive it, even though that didn't say that they got it or read it.
Okay.
You were on yesterday. I sent an email to that purchasing officer and requested a debriefing, right? Yeah,
right.
That was yesterday. She called me today. And normally they don't call. Normally they just email back. She called me and a little grumpy, like, what did you want to know? And I said, well, I just wanted to find out. My client wanted to know who it was awarded to and for how much, because she wanted to contact them to do subcontract work or to supply to them. She goes, oh, okay. Well, she gave me the 4 people it was awarded to. JR, what was it? TR Compton. It was awarded to 4 companies: TR Compton, JMC Freight, Full Tilt Nevada, and Corrosion Control out of Idaho. So she just called me and told me, but she didn't tell me how much because it was a blanket purchase agreement, which means the orders could be anywhere between who knows what and who knows what. The orders will be however much they need. But that's all you got to do to request the debriefing is ask for it. And she actually called back and answered my questions.
Oh, nice.
So, hey, John, say I wanted to find all the purchasing agents like within a state, like in the state of Colorado. How would I be able to do that?
Well, if any of you guys that have signed up for AFPDS, that system does it automatically. But if you want to do outside of that, you can always use this field right here. So you could go by zip code or by city and a keyword. You know, you can also go to, sometimes they have it in subnet. So back to my signatures, and I'm looking for acronyms. No. Oh, and somebody asked me what this was. That stands for associate. My associate. I suppose I should rename it. Well, it's a good time to show you how to rename them. You just click rename. Okay. It's on the cap statement. That's it, right here. Subcontracting directory. Have you guys seen this? If it's still working. I do believe it is still working. Subnet right there. They used to have a database that worked with subnet. Was awesome, but it was so outdated. It had the names and phone numbers of the small business liaison officers at like big corporate giants. The SBLO, the small business liaison officers, who you call if you want to work with a large corporation like that that also wants to hire small businesses. What we're doing here. Oh, no, we don't have to do that. We got to go right here to search. Search the database, obviously. You go to the state. You search by a NAICS code or a description. Not a whole lot, it's a handful. Sometimes the problem with this is that this database is meant for primes to put out opportunities to hire subcontractors. But some people use it because they're looking for work and they think they can use this as like a Craigslist. You know, I'm here looking for work, and that's not what it's for.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, but this is, they're looking for subcontractors that they want to hire. So are they? No, see, that's, yeah, small firms nearby. These are all looking for. So if you sell a product, you know, a widget, you can look in here and search under that, see if anybody's looking to buy it. They can still write that off. Subcontracts, guys, it doesn't mean, okay, the ESRS, the Electronic Subcontract Reporting System, when you guys have heard me talk about when there's a contract over $650,000,
right.
Generally they have to sub out 23% of that work to small businesses. So they have to claim that in the ESRS. So just because you don't actually physically work on a contract, like construction, you're the guy that goes out and lays the concrete or frames the buildings, you know, you're not physically working on it. Even if they just buy from you, like supplies or materials or other forms of labor or services that have nothing to do with the actual government contract they hold, they can still post that in the ESRS. So it benefits from them to buy from you regardless if you're actually working on the contract. So if you put those terms in mind when you search for things, or especially if you want to do some contract work or you want to sell to large primes, think outside the box that they can buy more than just what they need, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. As long as you're a small business with the cage code, they could put you down that they bought from you and it can go towards that 23%.
And especially if you have also have other set-asides, 8A, hubzone, VetBiz, GSA, 8A, you know, all that adds to it. If you're Native American, if you're minority, you know, all that comes in, especially if you're service disabled veteran.
Yeah, I know I have some Native Indian in my heritage. I just need to get the DNA test done and find out if I'm at least 1%.
Yep. Go to Ancestry.com. You can do it for less than $100.
Mm-hmm.
Any of you guys, I got to show you this one. It's anybody got a bid or solicitation or question, something like that? If not, I'll keep talking. I got something else I'd love to show you guys. If you do any kind of print, you purchase any kind of print materials, check here first. These guys, they do volume. That's why they're cheap. I've used them forever because they're cheap and their stuff's good. When I had my event company, we used to buy quarter-page flyers, and we went through a lot of them. And I was paying my printer like $400 or $500 for 5,000 of them. They charged $75 for 5,000 of them. Full color, double-sided, UV coated. Also,
yeah, I'm actually using them after your recommendation last time because I'm doing a capability statement brochure. So I actually called them up and talking with them about getting my stuff done.
they're the cheapest I've ever found.
Oh yeah, I looked at Vistaprint and everything else. Wow.
Major difference.
Yes.
They simply, it's because of volume. They're in Ybor City in Tampa, Florida, and there's a lot of music in Ybor, and they made their killing originally just doing movie posters and you know, band posters and band cards and flyers, stuff like that. Any of you guys provide services? I use this company, and I still haven't gotten any feedback on it. When I had my event company, about 60% of our leads came from this website. I found this originally because I got a Yellow Page ad in Verizon, and it was called Merchant Match back then. These guys simply found a way to get on the first page of most searches organically, and you know, they they'll contact you, let you know they got a lead in your area. The client wants this service or wants to buy this product, and this is their budget. This is the time frame. And if you want to buy the lead, you pay $1 or $2 for it, something like that. But we close 60% of the leads too. And I think it's like only $100 or something like that to try it. So if any of you guys can use it, try it. Let me know. I need some feedback on it. You guys know with the Cage Code, you can apply for grants too, especially if you've been in business more than 2 years. You can't start applying for a grant until you've been in business at least 1 year. They don't do startup grants anymore for the most part. That guy Lasco with the green suit with the question marks used to run around in the 80s and 90s talking about government grants. You get a grant for a startup.
Still now? Still now the science guy?
It's funny because in one of my searches, he actually comes up ahead of me under grants. It was an article. He was talking about how government contracts are much bigger and easier to get than government grants, but they're still out there. You can go to grants.gov or you can get a Grant Seeker Pro.
Hey, John, I have a question for you about those grants.
Yes.
If your business is financed through SBA, are you still eligible to apply for a grant?
Possibly. Depends on the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the grant. There's, you know, state grants, local grants. There's privately funded grants. You know, there's big businesses that put out grants that are available. If you know, if you got a fairly sized business and you want to make a big difference, you really need to hire a grant writer to work internally and just do nothing but write for all the grants that are available. Because hiring, you know, a grant writer service isn't cheap. I mean, if you're serious about getting a grant and you want a real grant writer, I can refer you one. But you know, it's a lot of time involved in writing a grant, and it's costly. You know, and it's not guaranteed.
Okay.
But going with a
So I
professional
was
who
just,
knows
just
what they're
curious
doing,
more than anything.
you're better off. I mean, I see a lot of attorneys that write for grants for people, and they don't really know what they're doing. They're attorneys. Their specialty isn't, grants. It's law. So if you need referral to a real grant writer, they charge hourly. They give you an estimated number of hours that they think it'll take, and it's done just like that. And it's all
Okay.
up, they tell you everything up front.
Is there a fund requirement or fund limit ceiling, per se, on a grant?
It depends. I mean, it depends on how you have your business set up. If you're running an LLC, sometimes you can't do things in conjunction with a 501c3, depending on the state, because every state has different rules too, There's some states where you're better off being an S Corp and having a 501c3 and running them somehow in conjunction. I don't know how it's done, but I have an attorney that does that in certain states. And, it helps you save on taxes, and it helps you give more back through your 501c3. That instead of paying towards taxes, you can give it back towards your foundation or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but some states you're better off operating that way. Some states you're better off based on those laws as an LLC. Most of them you're better off as an S Corp, But if you have a partnership or what is it, a C Corp? There's another one. And you got, then you have the LLC, and you got people working as a DBA. I've got DBAs that do government contracts. If you see it's easy to see it. If you look in FPDS and you see a first name, last name, excuse me. You'll see it in here a lot. You'll see the business listed as their last name, comma, first name. That's either one of two things. They're working as a DBA, right there, Kager, comma, Alfred. Alfred Kager is working as a welder for the government. He's done 4 contracts so far. Looks like he's selling something, piecing something out. Now, sometimes you can search in the archives. You're better off to search by the cage code. Sometimes you can search in the archives of FBO. You can go to the advanced search. Oh, it's right there. You can go into the archives. And you can search directly in the archives, or if you go in the advanced search, you can search in both. So it didn't work. Sometimes you can search for all the contracts he's done, and they're still in the archives. You could, so if you wanted to search specific in here, you could go to the state. But you're not selling welding services. Let's say in this case you want to sell welding supplies. So now you can see an award from back in 2007 that never got purged. Ha, that's hilarious. They're supposed to be purged out every year. It's for $518,000 awarded to Miami Industrial Gases out of Miami, Florida. So the government's buying gas from Miami instead of from Texas. What else? You can search for, oh yeah, well, you've always got the DSBS too. So you can search in here by state. You can even look up counties, pick a specific county. You can go in here and search by area code, phone number, starting of a phone number, a fragment of a phone number, statistical area, servicing, SBA servicing office, zip code. You can pick certain types of vendors. You only want to find 8As to work with, or you're a veteran, you want to find other veterans, or SDBs or hub zones. Then you can pick your minority, veteran, or woman status here. And you can search by NAICS code, keyword. Probably welding, better. You can do any. And you can go down and search. I mean, there's other, you can put in their cage code directly or their DUNS number if you know who they are. But if you're looking for a list of people, search here. Only one in all of Texas as well. It's probably searching both words, welding, welder. Let's refine the search. Let's take out the word welder. Or it probably should have picked welding. Yeah, it did. And there we go. Okay, so we got 61 seconds. We got 210 profiles in Texas under welding. You can go through here and any number of these guys. If you sell welding supplies, these are all welding companies. That's 25 businesses you could go and contact and offer to sell to. And if they're doing contracts over 650,000, they're going to want to buy from you. Oh, any questions?
Well, I have a question. Do you recommend federal government or state government, or is there, as far as the solicitation bids are concerned, is it much easier to go after the state, or you don't see a difference?
No, it's, in my opinion, most state contracts are really complicated. And federal government contracts used to be really complicated too. That's why you hear so many people tell you it's not worth your time, don't do it, it's a waste of money. We tried it, we failed, and we did it right. We know we did, but they just wouldn't award to us because it's the good old boys network, or some of that stuff. It did exist back then, but in the last 4 years, the government's passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, the Expedient Payment Act. They've done things that have forced agencies to hire more small businesses, and Trump's pushing that even harder and even further. It's more spending towards small businesses. But I mean, look at the statistics, guys. Think about this. And this is when I hear people go, well, we submitted 5 bids and we haven't won one yet. This is getting frustrating. All right. Statistics. Just look at the statistics. If I had the statistics that you guys have today, I would be killing it, because just the sheer numbers. All right. 1.2 million for-profit vendors in SAM. Over 900,000 of them are inactive. That's over 3/4 of the for-profit vendors in SAM are inactive. That only leaves 337,000. This is back in 2015. It's public information. We can go right to sam.gov and search go to the advanced search and find out where all the where is it's not socioeconomic status. No. Somewhere in here there's a for-profit. For-profit. That's it. Okay. And we're not looking for minorities or women or veterans, any set-asides, nothing. Just for-profit businesses. This means Fortune 500 companies, overseas corporations, small to medium size, every business you could think of, okay? So we're going to search. $369,147. See that are active and they're for profit. So it's gone up a little. You know how many small businesses are in the United States? Almost 30 million. So when you're talking about competing in state contracts or, you know, if there's a lot of contractors in the state system competing after state contracts, the reason why I say they're difficult is because a lot of them I see will have 30 or 40 bidders. You've got so much competition. In the federal system, out of those 360,000 that are active, more than half of those might be active, but they're not necessarily compliant, all right? They're either in progress, they're submitted, and they're not active yet. You seeing this?
Right, yep.
Look at how many of these are in progress and submitted. We got one active out of 10. So take those statistics into effect right there, that only 10% of the people that are active can actually bid. And then put another statistic on top of that, that even though they're active, okay, so we got people that are active. We'll go back to welding. That's a good term. And we'll leave it in Texas so we don't have to sit here and wait for this to calculate. Okay. So even though they're active in these systems, come on now. They're not all compliant. This guy's not compliant. He doesn't have a capabilities narrative. This guy's not compliant. This isn't for a list of keywords. This is for their cap narrative. This is supposed to give a paragraph of what they do and why they're different, you know? And there's no guarantee that he's actually compliant inside of the DSBS, or that he doesn't have his website listed, so they can't go to his website. So now they got to dig further to buy from him. So they could have bought from him as a simplified acquisition by simply going to his website and putting in the credit card order, right? But instead of doing that, now they have to actually call him and physically make an order. So they're going to skip this guy and go to the next one. So even out of that, half those people that are active, and out of the 10% of those that are fully compliant, and out of those that few people that are not compliant, you're talking about you have very little competition in the federal system. That's why sometimes I'll have clients that win their first bid, they put it in 20 minutes before it was due and missed half the documentation and still won the contract and made like $8 grand on their first contract. It's just a matter of the numbers, guys. All right. And that's why, I tell people you can't just submit 5 bids. If you want to do this, submit 5 bids a day. Get on it, make it happen. Or if it's part-time, do at least 1 a week. Stay consistent. You got a year for all your registrations that you don't have to mess with. You got at least that. And if you can do 1 a day, that's 20 a month. Statistically, a lot of these only have 3 or 4 bids. I mean, again, go to Federal Procurement Data System. Almost every simplified acquisition in here is going to have less than 3 offers received. Okay, of course, the first one I pull up is going to make a liar of me. That's probably a typo, but for argument's sake, we're going to double check. Let's look at the next one. 9. Okay. Yeah, of course it's going to make a liar of me today. Most of them are less than 3.
Right.
Especially when they're larger. That was $290 million, and it was only 2 offers. It's for express reporting, whatever that means. It sounds like some kind of software program. You know, it's mind-boggling sometimes. There's a BPA for 200,000. BPAs are typically one offer. It's not a matter of if you can win contracts. It's a matter of when you can win contracts based on how much time you're willing to put in. All right?
You say on average 5 contracts, let's just say if you're active, 5 contracts a day is very doable.
If you're selling widgets, yeah. If you're selling widgets, all you need, your technical proposal, all it has to be is a brochure. If you're selling a service, depending on the level of the service, you're going to have to either explain not only how you can do it, but how you can meet the safety laws and the state laws and the city laws and the county laws and get whatever permits you need and meet OSHA standards and guarantee no one gets hurt, and how you're going to use green materials, and because 23% of this project has to be done green, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have to explain all that. And that's, you know, that's construction. Now, if you're doing something like you're selling firearms, you're going to have brochures that explain what firearms and what ammo, and there's certain rules where you can't ship firearms with ammo or blah, blah, blah. There's other state and county and local rules you have to adhere to. And then you have to have other licenses in order to be able to sell or to buy, and you have to have other licenses in order to be able to export and import. So it depends on what you're selling, what product or service, and what level, and if it's a widget or if it's actually a service. If it's a service with value add or a service that has additional construction or physical pieces to it, you know, if you're doing security, all right, one of the toughest contracts to submit bids on are armed security contracts, especially if it's a government facility that's being protected, because you're basically protecting the military who's protecting that facility, you know.
Right.
You got to have what's called a, I don't even remember what it's called, and I've written a couple of them. Contingency plan, an emergency and contingency plan, you know, and you got to take into account anything that could go wrong and how you're going to handle it and who's in charge of what and blah, 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 especially if it's armed security. If it's unarmed security, it's a lot different. They're not going to have unarmed security on a military facility or a government facility in another country. They're going to have armed security, obviously. But
that makes sense. Because if it's a service, you have to, you know, if it's a technical proposal, you have to really go into detail. It's not like selling a widget. So I agree with you 100%. I think both of your points, you talked about it. You're talking from experience, like you said. Selling to a state would be a lot harder. You know, it's just because, you know, once I start to do my research, my experience doesn't kick in. That's why I'm asking you, you know. So that's why it makes sense to ask you, hey, is it best to go to state or federal? But federal makes sense. And another question I have is, I know there are 4 ways to get into that federal contract, which is DSBS, call the subcontractors, you know, look at FBO and something else, BitConnect and whatever. In which way have you seen most people get awarded the contract? Is it by the solicitations?
Most people are awarded contracts in the beginning by submitting bids and actually making phone calls, believe it or not. I see more people line up subcontract work quickly because remember, the subcontractors also have to hire 23% if they're over $650,000, And a lot of these guys do millions and millions of dollars of business, so they know they have to do 23%. And it benefits them when you're also a minority or a veteran, a service-able veteran, woman, 8A, HubZone, et cetera. So they're more frequent to just hire you from a phone call than the government is. But I can tell you firsthand, and I've seen it before, and I even had a little doubt in the beginning when I first started people to do this. You're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes, but that yes is going to be well worth all those no's. And you take all those no's off the list, man. I had a very large construction company I'm working with. I actually worked with them on a construction bid for nuclear power plant, and I referred them to a proposal writer because I didn't feel at the time I had the knowledge and the ability to handle a nuclear power plant proposal. And the proposal writer wrote it, and they didn't win it, and the purchasing agent told them in the debriefing that they were the first pick. They would have hired them. The technical proposal was brilliant. Of course, the technical proposal was written by the company itself because it's their explanation of how they're going to do this contract. The rest of the proposal was written by the proposal writer, and he did all of that correct with the exception of one thing. And the purchasing agent, I'll never forget her words because she said, quote, unquote, it was in an email, he made an extremely amateur, basic, minor mistake. I don't know if she used all the words in that order, but he forgot to include the bid bond. And it wasn't the client, the vendor that forgot it. It was the proposal writer. They bought the bid bond. They gave him the documentation. He just forgot to include it in the documentation. So they lost the contract for a nuclear power plant, you know, and bought a bid bond that was worthless. The point is, just submit bids, man. Submit bids. Win as many contracts as you can. Make those phone calls. That construction.
I want to focus on the two main things that are most efficient, which you said, submitting bids and making phone calls. Because I don't want to focus on the other two if it's not going to be as efficient as the top two.
When you're making phone calls and you're talking to purchasing officers, you want to mention that you're registered for simplified acquisitions because I have seen people win contracts that way as well. It's not as frequent as getting sub work lined up. You know, especially if you do something physical, if you got a physical service, IT is physical. And I'm not saying just because you only like cabling or something like that, but IT in general is required, and it requires bodies, requires boots on the ground somewhere. But if you do construction or you actually only do cabling, there's primes out there that are looking for you. You just got to call them and get in front of them. Ask for the SBLO, the Small Business Liaison Officer. If they know what that means, they'll transfer you to them. If they don't, just give them a quick explanation. You're a small business. You want to, find out what you can do to earn their business. Who should I talk to? And they'll refer you to the right person. That construction company actually was on the training one day, and the guy was like, he kind of got upset. He says, look, man, I think we're just going to stop making the phone calls because we've been doing it for almost 3 weeks. We're getting nothing but a bunch of no's. And one officer told us yesterday we're wasting our time. And I said, I know, I told you this, it would happen. I even began to start doubting myself. But like 2 days later, he called me back and he goes, man, you're right. We stuck with it, and we made a couple of phone calls, and we got one deal already worked out. Another deal in the works. We're meeting with another guy tomorrow. We just got another phone call that another guy wants us to come see him. It happens. And you only got to, dedicate an hour a day. It's not like you're dedicating your life to this. Focus an hour a day on making phone calls and 2 hours a day on bids, and run the business around it.
John, today I started making my first phone calls to purchasing agents, and like the second person I called, she was out of Boulder, Colorado, and she's like, yeah, send me over your cap statement. And then she started emailing me like, hey, check out 8A and HubZone, these different things, and this and that. And she was like, yeah, I gave your cap statement to all my associates and this and that. And she was really nice, and for the most part, everybody I've been talking to has been really cool. I've had one rude dude. I was like, what can I do to earn your business? And he was like, nothing. I was like, but I mean, that was just one guy, and I talked to like 20 people, so far, and that was just in a couple-hour time frame.
That's awesome.
So I got pretty good warm responses for the most part, and that's out of, you know, just 20 people, and there's, you know, how many purchasing agents?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I've got a list.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee you the validity of the age so the accuracy of the data, but if you guys want me to send you over a list, I call it the gold mine. I think it's like 77,000 purchasing officers' names and phone numbers and emails. All I ask is that I'll send it to you because you guys are my clients, but don't give it to anybody else. You know?
Right.
Because the more people use it, the more worthless it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate that, John.
I can't email it because it's a big Excel file. So if you guys want to, I can't figure out how to use Dropbox to save my life. Maybe one of you guys want to tutor me. Otherwise, I have Skype. I can Skype it real easy.
I don't have Skype.
Well,
do you have Google Drive?
Yeah, you know, I can't figure out. I can sit down and watch the videos. I just don't have time to watch the tutorials and figure it out, you know.
Dropbox is probably your best bet. You know, you can do it while you're, you know, have 5 minutes on your phone, and you can get that done. Just set up an account, and from there, it's almost like uploading a file and putting it to our email.
You know, I know the basics. I did it. I tried it twice, and it never went through. And then I don't know. I'll figure it out, or I'll set up a go-to meeting with you guys, and you guys can. I can make you control my screen, and you can show me what to do. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
You know, the only other ways to find purchasing officers that you want to go to is you know, when you're in FBO, when you're bidding on something, and this is the approach that I took. I brokered hard drives in memory back in the not early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when that stuff was just coming out. Like, I remember I bought my first 8088 like an idiot because I spent like $4,000 on that thing, and it didn't even have a hard drive in it. You had to read off of an 8-track or cassette tape player.
Wow.
Yeah, it was sweet. And my first Timex calculator I spent $3,800 on, like an idiot. FBO. If you're looking for stuff to bid on, you know, you're looking at these opportunities.
On the opportunities, you have a lot more tabs than I do. I only get like 2 tabs.
Back on the FBO page?
Yeah, well, no, now you go to opportunities, and you have the opportunities list, advanced search. I just get like 1 tab.
Right here?
2 tabs. I have opportunities list, advanced, and archives.
That's weird. Huh. I'll have to look into that because I've never heard of that. But, I mean, I've seen Stranger Things. Well, I bet you I know why. They're migrating FBO into SAM. I mentioned that earlier. FBO, the DSBS, the ESRS, subnet, the CPRs, PPARs, and FAPIS, and one other, the EGLS or something like that. All those systems are going to be in SAM eventually. So they're modifying these systems to move them over. And I bet what happens, because you registered an FBO recently,
right?
They probably got rid of these other options in order to simplify it, to do the migration. And when you signed up, they weren't available anymore. Let me look into that because that's interesting, but I bet that's what happened.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm also not signed in on the FBO. I just use the regular. You told me not to get a account for the FBO, so.
I could be too. I mean, you could get an account in FBO. It doesn't hurt. Because, you know, as long as you know you're getting the opportunities from the EPLS, you can ignore the emails or you can have them go to your spam, you know, but at least you know one day if you're not getting your emails from EPLS and you're getting them from FBO, something's wrong.
Right.
Or, excuse me, the AFPDS. Oh, yeah. So finding, you know, the names of purchasing agents. When you're looking at opportunities, all right, the first thing I tell you to do is read the response date, look at the set aside. This is a hub zone. If it's not hub zone, we're not going to do anything with it, all right? And we know this is in an area where we search because it's within our search term. So then we read the synopsis, and we determine in the synopsis that this isn't something we want to do. But this purchasing officer buys stuff that we would normally want to sell. Scroll to the bottom while you're in here without wasting any time and copy that into an Excel spreadsheet that you already got sitting on your desktop. Just copy it right in and start making a database of these purchasing agents that buy the types of things that you want to sell. So in a month or so, you can sit down and go through that spreadsheet. And these are active purchasing agents that are currently buying. Does that make sense? If you're in here, might as well take advantage of it.
Definitely.
That's a real good idea.
A lot.
And you can do that. If you're bidding on something, go to the interested vendors list. And there's nobody on there. Of course, anytime I want to make a point, it's going to be that rogue that's going to prove me wrong.
Every time.
Every time. It never fails. Yeah, there's only one bid on the average. There's 87 bids. Come on, really? Okay. Oh, yeah. Interested vendors list. So while you're in here, and of course, this one's a blind list, so you can't see it, which is the only one I tell you guys to put yourselves on. Batting 1,000 now. Let's strike 2. Synopsis solicitation. Okay. And no interested vendors list. Really? Fan installation. There we go. And there's nobody on it. Okay. Let's just say, for argument's sake, this interested vendors list had 10 people on it. 3 or 4 of them are selling stuff. I'm only on here because I add myself all the time when I'm working in this field to show people. But let's say it has 10 people on it. Copy and paste them into another spreadsheet of vendors that are trying to sell something in that area of that product or service, or they're trying to bid on and do that contract. And that's a whole nother database of people that you can, every time you're in a bid, grab that information real quick. It only takes a minute. Go in the interested vendors list, highlight, and copy the whole list in one shot. Copy it, go to this spreadsheet for vendors, paste it real quick, go back to notice details, read the synopsis, blah, blah, blah. Nah, we don't want to bid on this one. All right, we'll go ahead and grab the purchasing officer's info, copy it, go to your other spreadsheet, paste it, blam, and then go to the next one. See if it's one you're interested in. Keep going.
Nice.
Response date. No, we don't have time to respond. So we'll still grab it though. You know, just keep going. If you're in here, you might as well take advantage of this data that's there in front of you.
I'm going to have to figure out how to do that on my phone with Google Spreadsheets. Because I do all my work on my phone. Trying to figure out how to do all this on a cell phone is getting to be a pain in the ass, but I'm figuring it out.
Well, tell you the truth, and I never say that because that means I've been lying. I need to learn all this stuff. You know, if I'm going to be an expert in the government field, I need to know how to use it on every platform. So I'm glad you guys are bringing these questions up that I don't know the answers to. I will get the answers. Any of those questions you guys have that I didn't have the answer to, drop me an email and give it to me in writing, and I will get you an answer, and I will learn how to do it myself. Because if I'm going to be the expert, I need to be the expert, right?
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. Now let's go fishing. It's almost 5 o'clock. You guys got any other questions?
I'm good.
I'm good, John.
Thank you.
No problem. I'll be back on here tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. You know the drill. If you guys got something you want to bid on, send me the link at a time. Questions, go ahead and log in. If you just want to log in to listen, you're more than welcome.
Awesome. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you very much.
You got it.
Have a good day.
See you tomorrow.